good indicator of whether you're chasing, whether you're pursuing, whether you're lacking, essentially, is if you're trying to close the gap. And we're going to talk about like how to identify that and what that actually looks like, because it can be like really, really subtle. You know what I'm saying? Like, to kind of put like manifestation into like parallel with relationships, like someone, I feel like I'm gonna get eaten alive for this, but this is what I think. This is how I look at it and what makes sense to me. So someone who is detached and is in their like knows in their soul that like something is theirs, like doesn't really care, that's the avoidant. They're the ones being chased. They're the ones leaning back. They're the ones pulling back. They're the ones not really caring. They're not the ones pursuing, chasing, you know what I mean? And then obviously, you know, the anxious is going to be on the flip side. The one always trying to close the gap, like always trying to pursue. It's anxious. It's not, it doesn't know. It's not sure. Them. You know what I mean? Like from an energetic standpoint. So kind of like try to figure out like where you're standing in terms of like those two identities. And like you're going to fluctuate between them when it comes to manifestations. You know what I mean? And when it comes to relationships too, obviously. But like if you're in that energy of like constantly trying to close the gap, even in subtle ways, like that's a like pay attention to that. Like it's going to be really subtle and subconscious. Like the only reason I'm making this is because I had a random moment where I realized that I was kind of doing this, and it was so subtle that I didn't even know that I was doing it. And then I caught myself and I was like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? Like here I thought I was like, I was good, like I was trusting, like I was knowing, and then I was doing these little things to like try to subtly manipulate the situation. You know what I mean? Like, and like that identity, the identity of the person like trying to subtly manipulate a certain situation into happening versus the identity of the person who already knows that it's happening and has just let it go. Those two identities are not congruent. You know what I mean? So like even like if you're, I'll take it back to relationships, for example, like if you are like anxiously attached and you're trying to like detach or like depedestalize a person or like, you know, pull your energy back, pull your power back, like whatever, even like if you, for example, like if you are like posting things on your story to try to like influence how this person perceives you, it doesn't have to be in major ways, because it's not about the action itself. It's about the energy that it's being done from, the identity that you're coming from. You know what I mean? So it might not even like, say you post something that's like really vague, you know what I mean? Or just like, I don't know, just really general. Like say you post a piece of music or something and like, but like subconsciously you're thinking of how like other people are going to perceive it, and you're doing it not from a place of like true authenticity. It's like almost like subtle manipulation, because you're like, oh, like I wonder if they'll think this or blah, you know what I mean? And like those things happen in the back of your mind, and they're really easy to miss if you're not like actually paying attention to it. So try to keep an eye on this, because like that person who's like, oh, like I wonder, like maybe they'll listen to this, or like maybe they'll think this, is very different from the person who's truly not giving a shit. And that's the identity of the person that has the thing that you want. Because like realistically, we're going to do a little bit of an exercise here, just a quick little exercise. So like you're in this identity now, and let's just assume, I imagine this is true because you're watching this video, that you are either attached to somebody or a specific outcome. You're anxiously attached in to some degree or another. You're like trying to close the gap. You're anxious, you're leaning towards it, you're chasing it, and you're trying to figure out how to stop doing that. Let's just take a minute to think about, because it all comes back to identity. It all comes back to energy. Think about the identity. Think about who the person is that has that thing that you want. So like, say you are infatuated with someone right now, and you feel like you're the anxious one. You feel like you're liking them more, you're pursuing, you're wondering, you're not really sure where you stand. You are in the anxious role, right? Think about who that person is in the flip dynamic. Okay, now like sit and embody it, like feel it in your body, like feel the identity, the energetic field of that person, because it's a different state. You know what I'm saying? Like that person, the person who is in that flip dynamic, like now imagine that person obsessed with you, and think about how you would feel, because it's going to be way different. And you're like initially you're probably gonna be like, oh my gosh, like they're obsessed with me, blah blah blah, but like realistically, like that's not how you would feel. Like, and I'm saying really, really like saturate your mind with this. This person, the dynamics have flipped. They are now obsessed with you. And I'm telling you, when a person is obsessed with you, that goes on for long enough, and then you start to lean back because you're like, whoa, I don't know about this. Like, that's just how energy dynamics work. And that's why the whole like pulling back your energy thing works, is because you're embodying that state of the person who's pulled back. Like, there can only be one chaser, you know what I mean? And that's in terms of relationships for sure, but also like in terms of the universe, because the person that's being chased isn't leaning forward, they're leaning back, they're being chased because it's coming to them. It's a energetic pull now, you know what I'm saying? So like, do this exercise repeatedly of being like, is this action subtly, like, it can be the most subtle thing, is this action, is this behavior, is this thought, is this emotion congruent with the person who in which this person I desire is obsessed with? Because most likely the answer is no, because that person is radically different. Like, to be honest, like, if a person if this person you like was obsessed with you, you would not care, to be honest, because you know that they're just obsessed with you and that's the way it is. Like if you've ever had someone obsessed with you, like, think about how you behaved. You're just like, I don't know, they're obsessed, they're gonna, like, you don't really give a shit. And to be honest, like, you're not really thinking about them that much because there's nothing to wonder about. Like, you just know. And it's just like the way it is. Like, that's the state that you have to embody. Like, totally lackadaisical, just like, yeah, they're obsessed with me, I don't really know. Like, it's just the way it is. Like, you're not trying to contort yourself or do anything to try to manipulate them to be obsessed with you, because they just are. Like, you're literally like, you're just authentic. Like, you're just like, you don't care. You know what I mean? If you've ever been in that state, like, try to take some information like from that, because you can influence different dynamics by embodying that state. Because the situation is like, you really, like, you can influence, like, any dynamic can be any dynamic. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like, I kind of, what I mean is like, the reason certain dynamics end up certain ways is because your state changes from person to person. And you'll notice this too, like, just depending on your pattern. So like, and that's why a lot of times, like, people who you don't really want, like, tend to want you. It's because that's you're emitting an energy of like not really caring, of already having, of detachment. Well, I got that thing, I don't really want, you know what I mean? Like not wanting is congruent with having. Wanting indicates lack. And so what happens is, a lot of times when we meet people, we want them, you know what I mean? And so then you start seeing those patterns show up. So a lot of times, like, even in dating, like, I'll hear people talk about like, oh yeah, like, I didn't really want them, but then I like gave them a chance, and then all of a sudden, like, they weren't really interested, or like they played me, whatever. But like, you'll notice that the dynamic was fine until you started deciding that you want them, and that indicated an energy of lack. Like, that's exactly what happened. So my point being that, like, any dynamic can be anything you want it to be. You just have to train yourself to stay within a certain embodiment, like a certain identity, you know what I mean? And that comes from, like, in a sense, like, in a really, really weird sense, like, not wanting the person that you're with, not in like a toxic way, but like in a way of just like trust, in a way of knowing that you already have them. So you're not like longing for this thing. And I think that's something that kind of gets put into romance a lot, is like, we feel like, I don't know, it's just kind of how, it's part of our nature, but it's also kind of how we're programmed, is like, when you're in love with a person, like, we pedestalize them, and we sort of push them away from us with like how we tell the stories of who they are, when in reality, it's like, in kind of a really large way, you have to just be like, I don't really need them, you know what I mean? And like, that is more aligned with the state of the person in which like they are doing the chasing, you know what I mean? So like, pay attention to these subtle ways that you try to contort yourself or like close the gap, because like, the energy of the person, you know, that you want to be, that this person is obsessed with, is not doing that. Even in little tiny ways, like, they don't care. They genuinely feel whole and complete and lovingly indifferent towards whether this person reciprocates or not. Like, you can like a person and still not need them, and still not want them, and long for them. There's a subtle difference there between coming to a relationship in wholeness and like, you know, yearning for a person. And it's a subtle change, but those are two very different identities that'll get you really different outcomes. So I hope this is helpful. I will see you next time. I love you guys. Bye.